Withology is about collaboration, inspiration, dedication, influence, and positive manifestation. It's about the stories behind success, something everyone needs a little bit of help achieving. Join host Brian Tierney, CEO of Brian Communications, as he interviews the most successful business and industry leaders to hear the fascinating stories about their personal journeys and the people who have helped them get to where they are today. Welcome to Withology.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Withology. I'm Brian Tierney, CEO of Brian Communications, and I'm delighted to be welcoming Pete Gurt, the president of the Milton Hershey School, as my first guest on this season 2 of Withology. The Milton Hershey School, commonly referred to as MHS, serves approximately 2,000 promising young students from low-income families and now boasts more than 11,000 graduates. It's a cost-free private residential school in central Pennsylvania that was founded more than 112 years ago by chocolatier Milton S. Hershey, we've all tasted that so wonderfully, and his wife, Catherine. In 1909, the Hersheys, who loved children but were unable to have their own, put their fortune to good use and started MHS to help children in need lead successful and happy lives. Today, the school's whole child approach to education gives thousands of children an opportunity to break the cycle of poverty. In addition to a world-class education, the school also provides kids with vital services year-round, such as housing and health care and dental health and psychological care and clothing, nutritious meals, transportation, and more, all at no cost to the students' families. Pete has been president of the Milton Hershey School for more than 7 years, but his connections go much deeper, and his dedication to the school spans most of his life. He's an MHS alumnus who first came to the school at age 5. And prior to taking on his role as president, served in several other leadership positions, including Chief Operating Officer, Vice President for Student Life, and Vice President of Administration. So Pete is a Milton Hershey School lifer, and he's a living example of the profoundly positive impact that this nurturing institution can have in someone's life. Pete, it's an absolute pleasure to have you join me today on this episode of Withology.
Brian, what an honor is it for me to be with you and share the tremendous story of Milton Hershey School.
Well, it's great. And it is some story, man. I'll tell you, it's just amazing. So let's start before that, Pete. Talk about the early days. You grew up in Morrell Park, which is a neighborhood in Northeast Philadelphia. You were the youngest of 8 children. Tell us about your early years and then as you became a student at the school.
Sure. So as you say, I'm the youngest of 8 kids, my mom and dad, working class family, and my father died at the age of 39. And my mother was faced with the reality of trying to raise 8 children on her own without employment. And she had a friend who worked for a judge in Philadelphia, and her friend said, "Have you ever heard of this place called Milton Hershey School?" And she hadn't. And so long story short, as my brothers and I enrolled, I was 5 years of age. My life changed forever. It was extraordinarily difficult leaving my family, but at the same time, I knew that the decision my mother was making was in my best interest. And my love affair with Milton Hershey School really started at the age of 5, and I've been here really since that point.
Tell me a little bit about your mom.
My mom is, to me, the true definition of a hero. And when you think about somebody who had enormous odds, when your spouse, your partner in life dies at such an early age. And it wasn't until I spoke with her much later that she never really had the opportunity to grieve because she had immediate responsibilities as a mother of 8 children. And the effort, the time, the high expectations that she instilled in all of us, my siblings and I growing up, stayed with us throughout. Very devout in her faith. There were times when she just recently passed away, and in her eulogy, my comment was all about, she had absolutely nothing, but she had everything. Yeah. She had a mindset of just being 100% content with the circumstances that God had put on her lap to handle. And she felt that, she's one of the most faithful people I've ever met, and really inspired all of her children, that we had an obligation to not only succeed, but to serve others. And so I give her really all the credit in addition to my extended family at Milton Hershey School.
Pete, that's beautiful. I gave our listeners a little background on the Milton Hershey School in the opening. Can you talk a little bit about the need it now serves and what makes it so special? When you think about Milton Hershey and his wife, Catherine, they were prescient in seeing the role of education and what that would play 112 years ago. Talk about the role it does play today.
Sure. Milton Hershey School serves 2,000 children currently. And in order to enroll at Milton Hershey School, you need to be between the ages of 4 and prior to your 16th birthday. If you attend Milton Hershey School, you are required to live on our campus with a model that we refer to as house parents. It's a married couple who are responsible for 10 to 12 students that live in a family-like environment. And so in essence, we're really a home and a family first, supported by an exceptional school. And so all of our students do attend school on our campus. We are one of the few schools, especially independent schools, that have not only a very rigorous academic program, but we have a very strong career technical education program. It's also important to note that all of our children are here at no cost to themselves or the family. No public dollars are accepted either. This is all funded through private donation, primarily through our relationship with the Hershey Company and Hershey Entertainment Resorts. We're the controlling shareholder, and a significant portion of our income comes from the Hershey businesses that Mr. Hershey established. But all of the needs of the children, their educational needs, their housing needs, their medical, dental, and psychological needs, their clothing, their food, all of it is provided at no cost to the families in a year-round setting on our campus in Hershey, PA.
And that's one of the things that when I first had the opportunity to come up and be with you and your team and tour and see some of the homes, that's the incredible thing. There's this beautiful home that looks like it would be in any nice neighborhood, et cetera, middle-class neighborhood. And in it is artwork of the children up on the refrigerator posted up. It's not an institution. It really feels like a home. And talk about the parents, the house parents, and the incredible role. I mean, you could see in the parents that I met, there's this sense of glow of pride and excitement about what they're doing. Talk a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, first, let me just say that, at one point early on in the school's history, one of Mr. Hershey's employees felt that the school could be more efficient in terms of cost savings if dormitory living were considered. And Mr. Hershey actually had those dormitories torn down. So from very early on, this concept of home and family, Mr. Hershey himself indicated that he wants all of his children to have the benefits of a real home. So it really is such a cornerstone to not only his vision, but what also we know children need today. In order to be successful, you need to be grounded in the values and the comfort and the safety and security of home. And so we have over 210 residences on our campus that are staffed by house parents. They're married couples. They come from all over the country. Extraordinary job that they do day in and day out, serving as surrogate parents for our kids. They work very closely with the parents of the children, so they do not replace parents in any way, but their contribution to the daily routines, the love, the support, the challenge that they provide to our kids on a daily basis is such a challenging role, but very rewarding role. And the house parents will often tell you their contribution is measured by the number of weddings, college graduations,
Yes.
births, and other things that they experience with students that grew up in their home, because in essence, our students do treat them and have a relationship with them as family.
I met a relatively young retired couple that looked like in their 60s. I've met younger people as well, too. What a beautiful way to spend your life as an adult, to create this wonderful, loving environment and around these children. And you could see that. It really was magical.
And I honestly can't think of a better occupation if you're thinking of serving a larger purpose. They often say the morality of a society is determined by how it treats its children. To work with your spouse every day, serving as a parent, a figure, a role model, ensuring that our children are equipped with the skills and success that they'll need. It's an extraordinary job. It is challenging. Living with 12 children pretty much all day, every day can be challenging, but the reward is definitely worth it when you begin to see the children succeed and catch on to the important life and social skills that you're teaching them.
Yeah. And the values are being conveyed right there at every moment with those children.
Yes.
Yeah. After graduating from the Milton Hershey School, you attended Temple University and you earned a degree in business administration, and you really could have gone in a lot of different directions. What brought you back to the Milton Hershey School, the role of education and things like that?
Well, it's funny you ask, because my first grade teacher, my sixth grade teacher, and my 11th grade teacher all indicated that at some point I shared that I wanted to come back and lead Milton Hershey School. I don't know how much of that's like urban legend versus I did know by 10th grade that I didn't know how, I didn't know when, but I was going to be part of Milton Hershey School. By that time, the values, the love, the atmosphere of Milton Hershey School was so part of my DNA that I felt a personal obligation to want to be part of that. And so after graduation, I did work in the pharmaceutical industry for 1 year. I received a call from the president of the school asking if I would consider returning. And, I didn't even give 2 weeks notice to the job that I had. They were very supportive and excited for the transition. And I think in about 3 hours, I packed everything that I had at the time and ended up in Hershey. And that was in August of 1990.
Oh, that's beautiful. Your mom must have been so proud at that moment.
There were two things that stand out most to her. One is when she knew I was returning to the school. And then the year I was named president, I got to share it with her before I got to share it with anybody else. And let's just say any doubt in her mind about whether she made the right decision and making the sacrifice of living with me daily in order to ensure my continued success was erased from her mind. And she's the biggest Milton Hershey School cheerleader than anybody I knew.
A little boy who loses his dad at age 2, and his mom makes this courageous decision at age 5, and then she's able to see when he graduates from college and has another career going, but he gets lured back to fulfill his mission, and his mom sees him becoming the president of the school. How beautiful that is. You've talked at different times about, people and role models for your success and people that you've looked at as mentors. Talk about some others as well. I'm thinking about Bill Fisher.
Sure. Well, literally from the time I stepped on campus, the school at one point was described as an embrace, and you really do feel it. It's not just a school. It is a home. It is a family. And from even at the early age of 5, you sense that you were surrounded by people who cared deeply about you personally and cared deeply about your success. And so I have so many people in my life at the school that really transformed what I wanted to do, how I wanted to live. And I think of people even like the custodian at the high school is the first person that took me out on a Saturday and taught me how to buy my first car.
Wow.
And you think about that. And you think about the dining workers who take our students on weekends. So it's really tough to narrow it down, but there are 3 people, I would say, at the school that have had the biggest impact on me when I was a student. All 3 of them happened to be graduates, which I think is why it was instilled in me a sense to come back. And I learned different things from each of them. And so you mentioned Bill Fisher. Bill Fisher was a graduate of the school, was a longtime teacher, high school principal, and then finished his career as president. In high school, his gift to me was that of encouragement. Anytime you met Bill Fisher, any student on campus, you were the only one that mattered to him. His belief in you, his role. He took the title of Chief Encouragement Officer to an entirely different level. And so every interaction you left feeling that you just could not disappoint him because he believed so much in you. And I think that's the gift that Bill Fisher gave me. Secondly is a gentleman by the name of Mike Weller, who was the disciplinarian at the high school. And I was a little mischievous, not too bad, but I was a little mischievous. So I spent considerable time in Mike's office. And just the importance of discipline was his gift to me. Self-discipline, being responsible for your decisions, ensuring that your decisions don't have a negative impact on others. Those were all gifts that Mike gave me in that role. And then finally is one of my high school teachers in business, Rick Francis, also a Milton Hershey grad, was really the gift of humor. He just showed us every day that you can always find humor in every circumstance and that humor would often lift you out of sad situations. And so the great thing about all of that is when I came back to work at the school, the 4 of us literally would go away once a year and just have fun as friends. And so I got to spend, about 15 years before Bill retired and then passed away, really developing a lifelong friendship, in addition to thanking him and Mike and Rick for the gifts that they gave me as a student growing up here.
That's beautiful. One of the things that's really unique about the school, there's this beautiful family environment, the homes, with 12 children in them. I love when I've been up there to see the store where children pick out their own clothing and there's options. And it's just like, if they're coming from tough, challenging economic situations, here they're able to kind of explore and decide, I'd like that belt or that jacket or that sweater. It's really fun to see the look on the kids' faces. The other thing that's really unique, or one of the many other things, is that everyone, all the way back to Milton Hershey, when he started the school with his wife, graduates with an industry recognized certification in something. And they range from, agriculture and natural resources, automotive, all the way to electronic media and journalism too. I think 93% graduate with 3 of these too, which is really interesting. Can you talk a little bit about that? That college doesn't have to be for everybody. There's other things that somebody could do too.
Sure. And our deed of trust, written by Milton and Catherine Hershey, one of the tenets of that deed of trust is the importance of self-sustaining employment, learning of skill, ensuring that when one graduates from the school, that they are equipped to immediately get a job. And so we're one of the few schools that I'm aware of, especially independent schools, that have not only a rigorous academic program, but we have the career technical program that all of our students are required to participate in. And so from elementary school to middle school, we begin to orient our students on the possibilities of career. Many of our children just don't have the same type of exposure and role models that others do in terms of how do you even pick what you want to do when you grow up. Mm-hmm. And so we are very intentional at very early ages about introducing a variety of careers and opportunities. We do a lot of individual testing and counseling to really what we refer to as fit for purpose. What is it that the child believes their gifts and contributions can be, and then how do we align a program to meet those needs and requirements for the children. And so our career technical program, as you mentioned, we have a wide range of career pathways because we do believe that there are multiple pathways to success. And when you think about some of our graduates, yes, we have many graduates that go on to a college and complete college, but many of our graduates go into the trades. They go into the military. They go directly to the world of work. They're entrepreneurs. And so we do not believe there's one pathway to success. And we work with each student to determine what their needs and interests are and then try to wrap a program around that. One way we measure that is through the credentialing that you've mentioned. And so all of our students for the last decade, and now most recently, earning industry recognized certifications in their career pathway. Some, even if they go on to 4-year colleges and universities, it serves as a skill to both start and complete something. Sometimes it's a fallback credential that they need either for part-time work while they're going to college. And so it's really it's a foundational core component of what we do in career technical education.
Yeah. And like you say, too, a lot of them are things that apply very well if you want to continue in college, and others. And to have that backup, too, to know that when you're leaving the school, as life goes ahead, you have these certifications is beautiful. A few years ago, not that long ago, and it'll be in 2023 when the first manifestation of it physically opens, the board announced, and you announced that the Milton Hershey School, with 11,000 graduates as of the class of 21, was going to go in an additional direction to look at children at an even younger age and how they could make those lives enriched. And it's the Catherine Hershey School for Early Learning. And you've announced that there's going to be 6 of them, the first on the campus at the Milton Hershey School, the second in Harrisburg, 4 more down the road. And it's a wonderful investment of over $350 million total by the time this is over. 80 employees just for the first of the schools, 150 children. Talk a little bit about that. I mean, this is a wonderful pivot. It builds on everything that the school has done for 112 years. But now to go back to these incredibly important early years when a child is a year old, younger.
I think one of the reasons we were put in the position to consider expansion is how well things were going at Milton Hershey School. And when you think about, we're right now the largest residential school of our kind, the largest in MHS history. and our outcomes are stronger than they've ever been. And so our success put us in the position to think about how we could serve more children. Couple that with the tremendous stewardship of the resources of the Milton Hershey School Trust, put us in a position financially where we could think about expanding mission and serving more children. So we went through a very rigorous process to figure out what could be the next chapter in Milton Hershey School history. And we wanted to find something that would be complementary to Mr. and Mrs. Hershey's intent through the deed of trust, and also really complement the current program of Milton Hershey School. And it was just clear after that analysis that investing in early childhood education, helping children and their families from birth to age 5, get the fundamentals right at the earliest of age, will put them on the right path for success. But it could also serve as a program for us, for families that would continue to need a place like Milton Hershey School. If they're introduced to Milton Hershey School through Catherine Hershey Schools, they'll be in a better position to consider us, which will enable us to grow on our current campus in the future. And so to your point, $350 million investment, initial investment. Our plan is to have as many as 6 centers in the next 5 to 6 years. But we also believe that that's in its infancy. Mr. Hershey at one point said that if his whole idea served 100 kids, it would all be worthwhile. Here we are, 11,000 graduates, 112 years later. And I do believe that we're planting the seed for Catherine Hershey Schools, that while the initial phase is for 6, we plan to transform this Commonwealth of Pennsylvania with early childhood education centers across the Commonwealth to serve a variety of children who otherwise would not have the benefit of that early start.
It is amazing when you step back and you think the Hersheys want to have children, can have children, could have done a lot of other things, but have the wisdom to do this and to leave all their wealth in this targeted area for this school. What an incredible gift. It makes me feel even better when I eat a lot of Hershey chocolate. So
Yes.
keep eating. So the development of the early childhood education model, that came out of this whole strategic plan that you put together. I mean, talk a little bit about that process, the 2025 plan, and this is, a big part of that, but just talk a little bit about the process of going through that and stepping back and looking at the successes that the school has achieved. What was involved with that in terms of putting that together?
Very rigorous. We had some external assistance, as well as, the team made it a top priority to think about, this is a critical decision that's going to affect the Hershey legacy for the next 100 years. And so how do we get it right? And a variety of options were considered. I will say what we did was identify, guiding principles. What is it that we're trying to achieve? We identified guide rails, which is, what would be most consistent with a founder's intent and most consistent with what the school is doing currently. And so in essence, early childhood education is really just an extension of what we're already doing. While these children and families won't necessarily live with us on our campus, we're basically going to provide all of the holistic supports through early childhood education, and not just the learning of children, but a lot of this program is about how do we design family supports, helping our families with everything from parenting skills, the importance of reading to your children, the importance of having fun play with your children. How do you ensure a safe environment at home? How do we equip the parents with the skills necessary for employment? And so all of the issues that affect one in poverty need to be addressed. Education cannot do it alone. And so as you think about the holistic model that we are trying to create to be both a family support as well as the educational support that we'll provide for the children, often referred to as two-generation programming, is what we're trying to achieve. And we believe that we can do it given our resources, given our mission, and given our ability to take our time to get it right, that we hope that this will be a national model for the rest of the country to consider as early childhood education becomes such a hot topic in all walks of life now.
Yeah, and just to emphasize again what you hit on, which is so unique, is that it's not just the child, his or herself, that you're helping, but the whole, the family around it, helping mom, other things like that helping them get the skills. It's not just the child. It's trying to really shape the whole family, move them along.
Right.
It's beautiful. One last question. I want to try something new. It's a segment that we're calling One Word, One Thought. So I'll say a word and just a few phrases or two, or what comes to mind when we think of it. Maybe it's a personal experience or somebody you knew, or just some other trigger. So how about service?
Service to me would just say I believe our entire purpose on earth is to be of service to others. And people often can choose what that means. But living a life for others, I think, is just, I think that's what we're all called upon to do.
Yeah, so it makes you feel good at the end of the day, too, when you realize that you've helped somebody. And we need more of that in society. Leadership, impact, or success, pick one of them.
I'd say leadership, in terms of, leadership is not a title. We oftentimes think of leadership as a title. Leadership to me is a mindset. It's a way of living. It's a way of understanding that leading self before you lead others is critically important, and focused on ensuring that you are showing up every day, leading by example more than by title or by your words.
Yeah. Success. How do you define success? What words come to mind? I mean, you're creating successful outcomes or leading an organization that creates successful outcomes for so many children, but it comes in all kinds of variations and variables, and there's no one formula for success, is there?
Yeah, no, I would agree, and I think the whole Milton Hershey School model is an example of that. Is that what we really try to do is have our children define what success is to them, not some predetermined outcome, but what is success to them, and then how do you do everything possible, both with your skill set, your mindset, and your initiative, to achieve the success that you've determined was important to you. And ultimately, I think that success always means how are you doing it in service of others. But one can only be successful and meet their own definition of success if they take the time to define it and then move heaven and earth to achieve it.
Yeah. A humble leader, Pete Gurt, the president of the Milton Hershey School, who came there when he was a 5-year-old little boy, and now looks around and sees other 5-year-old little boys and girls there. That must be an amazing moment, because you can see yourself in them when they're walking on the campus. It's been a pleasure learning more about your life and the tremendous impact you've had on the education and the students who walk the halls every day at the Milton Hershey School. And it's this gentle but super determined, single-minded focus that is really something that when you meet Pete, you really come away thinking, this guy is low-key, but boy, he's changing lives and changing the world. So thank you so much, Pete, for doing this. And a lot of people will look back in their Withology session someday and say, Pete Gurt and the people at the Milton Hershey School made me who I am today. So just as you were made, too. Thank you, Pete.
Well, thank you, Brian. It's just great to be with you. I love the title of your podcast as well. Our theme this year at Milton Hershey School is Greater Together. We do believe after the pandemic and the isolation and how important it is really to connect with one another, and your work is inspiring, and I'm glad you gave me the opportunity to tell a little bit about Milton Hershey School.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Pete Gurt, the president of the Milton Hershey School in Hershey, Pennsylvania, as well as the Catherine Hershey Schools for Early Childhood Education, which he's leading the effort to which will be opening up in 2023, the first one on the campus in 2024 in Harrisburg, and 4 after that. A remarkable leader. Thank you so much, Pete, for being here.
Thank you.